Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome. Today's topic is the 1921 Cleveland Indians AL MLB baseball season. Again, the Tribe was playing in the American League, the junior circuit of Major League Baseball, and home games in Cleveland were being played at League Park, also known as Dunn Field. The Tribe had an outstanding year in 1921. They finished in second place with a record of 94 and 60. 34 games over 500, winning percentage of 610. It's tremendous. 4.5 games out of first place. The first place team was the New York Yankees, who were 98 and 55, winning percentage of 641. Second place, the Cleveland Indians, 94 and 60. Third place, the St. Louis Browns, 81 and 73. Fourth place, the Washington Senators, 80 and 73. Fifth place, the Boston Red Sox, 75 and 79. Sixth place, the Detroit Tigers, 71 and 82. Seventh place, the Chicago White Sox, 62 and 92. And in eighth and last place, Connie Mack's Philadelphia Athletics, 53 and 100, winning percentage of 346, 45 games out of first place. Now, in 1921, the Tribe had a number of injuries, which made things tough. Bill Whams-Gantz had a broken arm. Harry Lunte sprained his ankle. Steve O'Neill had a broken finger. And Les Nunemaker had a broken leg. And the worst was Tris Speaker had tore a ligament in his right knee late in the season. Babe Ruth, the New York Yankees slugger, set a new single-season home run record of 59. In 1921, the Tribe uniform had World's Champions emblazoned across the front of the jerseys. The club scored a record 925 runs in 1921, and that record stood until 1996. Spring training was moved from New Orleans, Louisiana to Dallas, Texas. There was an announcement made that fans would no longer be bothered to return foul balls. And they said, well, we're going to have the honor system, that you should return the balls because you think it's the right thing to do. And if not, they won't give the fans a hard time. There was an old-timers game at League Park on July 29th. And former players, Cy Young, Napoleon Lajoie, Chief Zimmer, Elmer Flick, and Bill Bradley all came to play. At spring training, the team played basketball and handball to get into shape. On August 17th at League Park, the one-year anniversary of Ray Chapman's death, each fan was given a rose in honor of Ray Chapman. And in the fifth inning, after the first pitch to Bill Whams-Gantz, there was 1 minute of silence honoring Ray Chapman, and the players and fans took off their caps and hats. Attendance in 1921 was a total of 748,705, or an average of 9,723 fans per game. This was the second highest all-time after 1920. Again, in 1921, Jack McAllister was the coach. There was only one coach, and he started with Cleveland in 1913 as a coach and scout, and stayed with Cleveland until 1927 when he had become the Tribe manager. Jack McAllister. Again, the player manager in 1921 was the incredible Tris Speaker, who played center field and managed. And his batting average was .362. Wow. 52 doubles, 14 triples, 3 home runs, 75 RBIs, 2 stolen bases in 132 games. And Speaker was with Cleveland from 1916 to 1926. As I said earlier, late in the season, he had this injury to his knee, which really made things tough because the Tribe was still competing with the Yankees for first place. Tris Speaker. Again, our outstanding catcher in 1921 was Steve O'Neill, and he had a tremendous season. He batted .322, 22 doubles, a triple, a home run, 50 RBIs in 106 games. And O'Neill was with Cleveland from 1911 to 1923. And he was the Tribe manager from 1935 to 1937, Steve O'Neill. Our first baseman in 1921 was Doc Johnston, who batted .297 with 20 doubles, 7 triples, 2 home runs, 46 RBIs, 2 stolen bases in 118 games. Johnston was with Cleveland from 1912 to 1914, and then from 1918 to 1921. So this was the end of his time in Cleveland. However, he continued in the major leagues for one more year until 1922. Doc Johnston. Bill Wamsgans was our outstanding second baseman. Wamsgans batted .285 with 28 doubles, 5 triples, 2 home runs, 47 RBIs, 13 stolen bases in 107 games, and Wamsgans was with Cleveland from 1914 to 1923. The guy who had an unassisted triple play in Game 5 of the 1920 World Series, Bill Wamsgans. Our outstanding shortstop was Joe Sewell, who batted .318, 36 doubles, 12 triples, 4 home runs, 93 RBIs, 7 stolen bases in 154 games, and Sewell was with Cleveland from 1920 to 1930. Joe Sewell. Larry Gardner was at third base. Gardner batted .319 with 32 doubles, 14 triples, 3 home runs, 120 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, and 153 games. An outstanding year for the Tribe third sacker, Larry Gardner. He was with Cleveland from 1919 to 1924. Larry Gardner. In the outfield, we had Charlie Jameson in left field. Jameson batted .310 with 33 doubles, 10 triples, a home run, 46 RBIs, 8 stolen bases in 140 games, and Jameson was with Cleveland from 1919 to 1932. Charlie Jameson. Elmer Smith was in right field. Smith batted .290 with 28 doubles, 9 triples, 16 home runs, 85 RBIs in 129 games. Smith was with Cleveland from 1914 to 1916, and then from 1917 to 1921. So this was the end of his time in Cleveland. Elmer Smith. Now the bench players included George Burns at first base. Burns batted .361. Wow, 88 hits and 244 at-bats, 21 doubles, 4 triples, 49 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 84 games. Burns was with Cleveland from 1920 to 1921, and then from 1924 to 1928. Another bench player was Riggs Stevenson, who played some second base. Stevenson batted .330, 68 hits, 206 at-bats, 17 doubles, 2 triples, 2 home runs, 34 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 65 games. Stevenson was from Akron, Alabama. He died in Tuscaloosa, Alabama in 1985 at age 87. For his career, he batted .336, 63 home runs, 773 RBIs. Stevenson played for Cleveland from 1921 to 1925, and then with the Chicago Cubs from 1926 to 1934. They called him Warhorse and also Old Haas. Stevenson went to the University of Alabama and played on the baseball and football teams. University president George H. Dendy at Alabama called Stevenson, quote, the embodiment of cleanliness, manliness, and courage. He was an All-American fullback on the football team in 1919 and 1920. He went directly from college to the major leagues. In 1929, he finished 23rd in the MVP voting in MLB. That year, the Cubs outfield had Kiki Kyler, Hack Wilson, and Riggs Stevenson. All three had 100 RBIs, and it's the only time in Major League Baseball history that has happened. In 1932, Stevenson finished 5th in MVP voting. In 1932 World Series, Stevenson played, and during that series, Babe Ruth had his called shot. He hit .444 in the 1932 World Series. He continued in the minor leagues until 1939. After he retired, he had a successful car dealership in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He's in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, inducted in 1971. One of the highest career average players in Major League Baseball who's not in the Hall of Fame due to his short career. Riggs Stevenson. Smokey Joe Wood was a spare outfielder. Wood batted .366. Wow, 71 hits, 194 at-bats, 16 doubles, 5 triples, 4 home runs, 60 RBIs, 2 stolen bases in 66 games. and Wood was with Cleveland from 1917 to 1922. Smokey Joe Wood. Joe Evans played some outfield. Evans batted .333, 51 hits, 153 at-bats, 11 doubles, 21 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 57 games. And Evans was with Cleveland from 1915 to 1922. Joe Evans. Les Nunemaker was a spare catcher. Nunemaker batted .359. Wow, 47 hits, 131 at-bats, 7 doubles, 2 triples, 25 RBIs, a stolen base in 46 games. And Nunemaker was with Cleveland from 1919 to 1922. Les Nunemaker. Jack Graney played some outfield. Graney batted .299 with 32 hits and 107 at-bats, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 18 RBIs, a stolen base in 68 games. Graney was with Cleveland starting in 1908 and then from 1910 to 1922. And then he became the Tribe play-by-play radio broadcaster from 1932 to 1953. Jack Graney. Pinch Thomas was another catcher. Thomas batted .257, 9 hits and 35 at-bats, 4 RBIs, 10 walks in 21 games. Thomas was with Cleveland from 1918 to 1921. This was the end of his MLB career. Pinch Thomas. Ginger Shinault was a spare catcher. Shinault batted .379. Wow, 11 hits and 29 at-bats, a double, 4 RBIs in 22 games. Shinault was from Benton, Arkansas. He died in Denver, Colorado in 1930 at age 38. Career average of .295 with 4 RBIs. He played for Cleveland from 1921 to 1922. His given name was Enoch Erskine Shinault. Ginger Shinault. Luke Sewell was another catcher. Sewell batted 6 times, did not have a hit. He had an RBI, struck out 3 times in 3 games. Sewell was from Titus, Alabama. He died in Akron, Ohio in 1987 at age 86. Career average of .259 with 20 home runs and 698 RBIs. He also was an MLB manager with a record of .606 and .644, winning percentage of .485. Sewell played for the Cleveland Indians, Washington Senators, Chicago White Sox, and St. Louis Browns from 1921 to 1942. He was the manager of the St. Louis Browns from 1941 to 1946, the Cincinnati Reds from 1949 to 1952. He was an All-Star in 1937. He was the top defensive catcher of his era, and his brother was Tribe shortstop Joe Sewell. In 1927, he finished 9th in MVP voting. With the Senators in 1933, Sewell made an odd double play. He tagged out Dixie Walker and Lou Gehrig at the plate in one sweeping action. Gehrig was moving kind of slow, and Walker was right on his heels. Luke and his brother Joe rank 8th in combined hits for 2 brothers all time with 3,619 combined hits. And in 1944, Luke Sewell managed the St. Louis Browns, winning the National League title, and they lost in the All-St. Louis World Series to the St. Louis Cardinals. Luke Sewell. Tex Jeans was a spare outfielder. Jeans batted .667, 2 hits and 3 at-bats, scored twice, had 4 RBIs in 5 games. Jeans was from Maypearl, Texas. He died in Longview, Texas in 1973 at age 72. Career average of .274 with 1 home run and 11 RBIs. Jeans played for the Cleveland Indians, Washington Senators, and New York Giants between 1921 and 1927. His uncle was Tris Speaker. In the minor leagues, he played for the Galveston Pirates, the Saginaw Aces, Memphis Chickasaws, Dallas Steers, Fort Worth Cats, Tulsa Oilers, Omaha Packers, and Longview Cannibals. Tex Jeans. Lou Gusto played some first base. Gusto had 1 hit and 2 at-bats, an RBI in 2 games, and Gusto was with Cleveland from 1916 to 1917, and then from 1921 to 1923. Lou Gusto. Art Wilson was a catcher. Wilson batted once, did not have a hit in 2 games. Wilson was from Macon, Illinois. He died in Chicago, Illinois in 1960 at age 74. Career average of .261 with 24 home runs and 226 RBIs. Wilson played for the New York Giants, Chicago Whales, Pittsburgh Pirates, Chicago Cubs, Boston Braves, and Cleveland Indians between 1908 and 1921. So this was the end of his MLB career. They called him Dutch. He won a title in the Federal League in 1915 with the Chicago Whales. In the minor leagues, he played for the Hopkinsville Hoppers, the Bloomington Bloomers, and the Pittsfield Hillies. Art Wilson. Now, the pitching staff was anchored by Stan Coveleski. Coveleski batted .155 with 18 hits and 116 at-bats, 5 doubles, a triple, 16 RBIs, walked 4 times, struck out 26 times in 43 games. Coveleski's pitching record was 23-13, 3.37 ERA, 43 games, 40 starts, 28 complete games, 2 shutouts, and 2 saves. And Coveleski was with Cleveland from 1916 to 1924. The hero of the 1920 World Series when he won 3 games for Cleveland, Stan Coveleski. George Ewell was a second in the rotation. Ewell batted .245 with 23 hits and 94 at-bats, 2 doubles, 3 triples, a home run, 18 RBIs in 48 games. Ewell's pitching record was 16-13 with an ERA of 4.01, 41 games, 28 starts, 13 complete games, 2 shutouts, and 2 saves. Ewell was with Cleveland from 1919 to 1928 and then back in 1936. George Ewell. Duster Mayles was third in the rotation. Mayles batted .094 with 6 hits and 64 at-bats, 2 doubles, 4 RBIs, walked 9 times, struck out 38 times in 34 games. Mayles' pitching record was 14-8 with an ERA of 3.94, 34 games, 24 starts, 10 complete games, 2 shutouts, and 2 saves. And Mayles was with Cleveland from 1920 to 1922. Duster Mayles. Jim Bagby was another strong starting pitcher. Bagby batted .197 with 15 hits and 76 at-bats, 7 doubles, a triple, 11 RBIs in 41 games. His pitching record was 14-12 with a 4.70 ERA, 40 games, 26 starts, 13 complete games, and 4 saves. And Bagby was with Cleveland from 1916 to 1922. Jim Bagby. Alan Sotheron was another pitcher. Sotheron batted .276 with 16 hits and 58 at-bats, 3 doubles, a triple, 6 RBIs, walked twice, struck out 10 times in 22 games. Sotheron's pitching record was 12-4 with an ERA of 3.24, 22 games, 16 starts, 10 complete games, and 2 shutouts. Sotheron was from Bradford, Ohio. He died in St. Louis, Missouri in 1939 at age 46. Career record of 91-99 with an ERA of 3.31 and 576 strikeouts. He was a manager briefly, had a record of 2-6, winning percentage of .250 for the St. Louis, and he played for the St. Louis Browns, Boston Red Sox, Cleveland Indians, and St. Louis Cardinals between 1914 and 1926, and was that manager briefly for the St. Louis Browns in 1933. Sotheron was a spitball pitcher. In 1921, sports writer Bugs Baer wrote, quote, "L.N.S. Sotheron pitched his initials off yesterday." That's an immortal quip. He was also a manager in the minors. He was a coach for the St. Louis Cardinals, Boston Braves, and St. Louis Browns. He played in the minor leagues for the Louisville Cardinals, Milwaukee Brewers, and Wichita Witches. Alan Sotheron. Ray Caldwell was another pitcher. Caldwell batted .208 with 11 hits and 53 at-bats, 4 doubles, a home run, 3 RBIs in 38 games. Caldwell's pitching record was 6-6 with an ERA of 4.90, 37 games, 12 starts, 4 complete games, a shutout, and 4 saves. Caldwell was with Cleveland from 1919 to 1921. This was the end of his MLB career. Afterward, he had many years in the minor leagues, including playing for the Kansas City Blues. Ray Caldwell. Guy Morton was another pitcher. Morton batted .171 with 6 hits and 35 at-bats. He scored a run, 6 RBIs, walked once, struck out 8 times in 30 games. Morton's pitching record was 8-3 with an ERA of 2.76, 30 games, 7 starts, 3 complete games, and 2 shutouts. Morton was with Cleveland from 1914 to 1924. Guy Morton. Bob Clark was another pitcher. Clark batted 3 times, did not have a hit in 5 games. As a pitcher, he had no decisions and an ERA of 14.46. 5 games and 9 1/3 innings pitched. Clark was with Cleveland from 1920 to 1921, and this was the end of his MLB career. Bob Clark. Ted Odenwald was another pitcher. Odenwald batted 3 times, did not have a hit, struck out twice in 10 games. His pitching record was 1-0 with an ERA of 1.56. 10 games and 17 1/3 innings pitched. Odenwald was from Hudson, Wisconsin, and he died in 1965 at age 63. Played for the Cleveland Indians from 1921 to 1922. His career record was 1-0 with an ERA of 4.34, 11 games and 18 2/3 innings pitched. Bernie Henderson was another pitcher. Henderson batted once, did not have a hit, walked once in 3 games. His pitching record was 0-1 with an ERA of 9.00, 2 games, 1 start, and 3 innings pitched. Henderson was born in 1899 and died in 1966 at age 67. They called him Barnyard. Played for the Cleveland Indians in 1921, so this was the extent of his MLB career, and he was from Douglasville, Texas. Bernie Henderson. And finally, Jesse Petty. Batted twice, did not have a hit, struck out once in 4 games. As a pitcher, he had no decisions and an ERA of 2.00, 4 games and 9 innings pitched. Petty was from Orr, Oklahoma. He died in St. Paul, Minnesota in 1971 at age 76. A career record of 67 and 78 with an ERA of 3.68 and 407 strikeouts. Petty pitched for the Cleveland Indians, Brooklyn Robins, Pittsburgh Pirates, and Chicago Cubs between 1921 and 1930, so he was a rookie in 1921. They called him the Silver Fox. He was a manager in the minors from 1935 to 1936. In the minors, he played for the Knoxville Smokies, the Hopkinsville Hoppers, and the Minneapolis Millers and the Newark Bears. Jesse Petty. After the regular season, the American League champions, New York Yankees, made their first World Series appearance led by Babe Ruth and the Power Game. They were defeated by the New York Giants, who played the inside game 5 games to 3. So it was an all-New York World Series. The Yankees had manager Miller Huggins and players Frank Baker and Babe Ruth. The Giants had famous manager John McGraw, and they were coached by Jesse the Crab Burkett, who played for the Cleveland Spiders in the 1890s, and tremendous pitcher Christy Mathewson, along with Frankie Frisch. So that's the story of the 1921 World's Cleveland Indians. They had an outstanding year, did very well. God bless all the guys who played for the Indians in 1921, and everyone else associated with the team, including the fans, especially the Civil War veterans, Spanish-American War veterans, and the First World War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, Severance Hall stalwarts, First Energy Stadium friends, Progressive Field pals, Quicken Loans Arena enthusiasts, Euclid Avenue electricity, Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Monsters, and Gladiators rule. Cleveland, City of Champions. Cleveland is the best location in the nation on the north coast of America. New York is the Big Apple. Cleveland is a plum. Before you know it, it'll be opening day 2019. Go Tribe. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.